The Las Vegas Raiders went head-to-head with the San Francisco 49ers in a high-energy scrimmage today, and fans got a sneak peek at just how dangerous this team could be. Both squads have playoff dreams, maybe even Super Bowl ambitions, but all eyes in Raiders Nation were locked on one name: Ashton Jeanty. From the very start, Genty showed why the hype is real. Multiple reporters on the ground from both the Raiders and 49ers camps couldn't stop talking about him. On just the second play of the day, he broke loose for a massive run straight to the end zone. Some say it was about 30 yards. Others argue he might have been stopped short. But one thing is certain: his burst and vision were electric. Before we dive deeper into the latest Raiders updates, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and smash that bell icon so you never miss breaking news from Raider Nation. Now, let's get back to the action. Even against a physical Raiders defense that's been wrapping up and bringing guys down all camp long, Genty stood out. Kyle Shanahan's 49ers weren't tackling full speed, but that didn't take away from the fact that Genty was making plays, creating space, and looking every bit like a player who could make a serious impact this season. Raider fans, this might just be the start of something special. The 49ers came into this scrimmage banged up, and head coach Kyle Shanahan made it clear: no tackling to the ground. That meant some plays, like Ashton Genty's breakaway runs, can't be judged entirely by whether they were real touchdowns. Still, even without full contact, Genty's explosiveness was impossible to ignore. This is the same rookie running back some doubters were questioning after his quiet NFL debut. What they don't mention is that in that first outing, the starting offensive line was barely on the field, just 4 snaps, and Genty only had 1 carry behind them. Today was different. Today, he looked like a completely different weapon. Raiders reporters couldn't stop talking about how Genty shredded through the 49ers defense. He even executed a play to perfection, one that the offense had failed to hit in practice just the day before. According to teammates, the improvement from yesterday to today was huge, especially for a rookie. That's the kind of growth that excites coaches. A player who learns fast, adjusts quickly, and comes back stronger the very next day. Genty's vision, burst, and ability to adapt on the fly are exactly what the Raiders need in their backfield. If this is how he's performing in August, Raider Nation might be in for a special season from number 2. Quarterback Geno Smith's praise for Ashton Genty carried extra weight today. While he didn't reveal exactly what play Genty executed so perfectly, it was clear it had been a problem just 24 hours earlier in practice. Whatever it was, likely a run design rather than a passing route, Genty nailed it this time, showing that quick learning curve coaches love to see. It wasn't just teammates noticing. Even 49ers reporters admitted the Raiders' offense found ways to break through San Francisco's defense. David Lombardi, who covers the Niners, noted that the Silver and Black made several explosive plays, highlighting how effective their attack was throughout the scrimmage. Now, to be fair, the 49ers were without stars like Nick Bosa and first-round pick Malik Williams, and they lost another player to injury earlier in the day. But this wasn't a skeleton crew. Their starting safeties, corners, linebackers, and parts of their defensive line were all still out there. The fact that the Raiders were still able to carve them up says a lot about how dangerous this offense can be when it's in rhythm. In a matchup against one of the league's most respected defensive systems, even a banged-up version of it, the Raiders' offense didn't just hold their own, they stole the spotlight. And with Genty adding fresh firepower to an already motivated squad, this unit is starting to look like a real problem for opposing defenses. The Raiders' offense wasn't just good today, it was electric. Trey Tucker turned heads with a diving touchdown grab. Ashton Genty kept piling on big plays, and rookie tight end Brock Bowers looked every bit the playmaker fans were promised. Sure, some of this came in situational drills like red zone work, where scoring is naturally easier from just a few yards out. But what really stood out was when the Raiders started drives from their own 20 or midfield, long field situations where you have to sustain drives, wear down a defense, and finish in the end zone. That's when this offense really showed its teeth. This offseason, Las Vegas loaded up on offensive firepower. 4 of their first draft picks were dedicated to adding weapons and protection on that side of the ball. It's clear the plan was to build an attack that can score from anywhere on the field. Of course, the question now is whether the defense can keep up. Some observers are already wondering if the secondary has enough reinforcements to slow down top-tier passing games. But for now, one thing is certain. This Raiders offense is beginning to look like one of the most exciting units the Silver and Black have had in years. While the Raiders offense shined at times, the defense had a much tougher afternoon. Multiple reports, including from David Lombardi, noted that the 49ers offense found plenty of ways to attack the Silver and Black. Brock Purdy split the safeties for a deep touchdown to rookie Ricky Pearsall. Braden Willis connected on a big corner route, and even Christian McCaffrey was making plays in the downfield passing game. The troubling part for Raider Nation was how consistently the 49ers were able to exploit the secondary. Even without Trent Williams on the field and with San Francisco's offensive line far from full strength, they still managed to generate explosive plays. That says less about the 49ers' O-line dominance and more about how much work the Raiders' back end still needs. Raiders reporters on site echoed the same concern. The defensive backs struggled to stay in position, were slow to react to quick throws, and left too much space for receivers to operate. This wasn't just about being beaten deep. The defense also had trouble closing down short and intermediate routes, allowing the 49ers to move the chains with ease. For a team that has invested heavily in improving its offense, it's becoming clear that the defense, especially the secondary, will need significant improvement if the Raiders are going to compete with playoff-caliber offenses this season. Watching the tape, it's clear the Raiders' secondary had some troubling moments. There were plays where defenders left receivers wide open, situations that could have been touchdowns against a sharp quarterback like Patrick Mahomes or even Brock Purdy. These breakdowns raise questions about how the Raiders' second and third levels of defense will hold up this season. While there were flashes of solid coverage, teams like the 49ers were able to exploit gaps, especially on long developing plays. Defensive coordinator George Kittle, speaking about the unit in a recent presser, compared some of the looks to the 2015 Pete Carroll-style cover 3 defense. It's possible Shanahan, familiar with that scheme from years of divisional matchups, knew exactly how to attack it. That said, the Raiders' defense still struggled to contain the 49ers' quick and versatile offensive attack. Despite these challenges, the team has been actively improving the secondary. Recent additions like J.T. Woods show the Raiders are aware of the gaps and are looking to bolster their back end. Still, if this unit wants to keep pace with playoff-caliber offenses, they'll need to tighten coverage, communicate better, and eliminate the big play opportunities that were so evident in today's scrimmage. The Raiders have clearly been proactive in addressing their secondary. They brought in safeties and cornerbacks on visits, including recent additions like Terrell Edmunds, while also exploring options like Shaquille Griffin, who ultimately chose Seattle. These moves show the team's focus is on tightening up the defensive backfield rather than adding offensive skill players. It raises the question, what will the Raiders' secondary look like once the season kicks off? With key matchups and preseason games coming, fans will get a better sense of how all the new pieces fit together. While some concern is natural given today's struggles, it's important to remember that strong coordinators like Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham can make a huge difference. Coaching often matters more than individual talent, and the Raiders are banking on these strategists to mold a more reliable unit. Looking at the league, you can see how much coaching impacts performance. Even teams with great players have struggled without sharp game plans, and conversely, a smart scheme can elevate a unit that may not have the biggest names. For the Raiders, the secondary is a work in progress, but with the right coaching and continued roster tweaks, it has the potential to stabilize before the season truly begins. A great example of how coaching shapes a defense comes from Vic Fangio. In 2024, he took over the Eagles' defense with only minor roster changes, a couple rookies here, a free agent linebacker there, and turned that unit into a top 5 defense, ultimately winning a Super Bowl. It's a reminder that coordinators can completely change the trajectory of a team. For the Raiders, Pete Carroll's scheme could be just the strategic boost their secondary needs, as long as it's applied effectively. Even 49ers reporters are starting to notice the Raiders' improvements. Grant Kahn, who covers San Francisco, was at Raiders practice and offered instant analysis afterward. Despite his natural 49ers bias, he didn't hold back praise for the Silver and Black. His words? The 49ers are only slightly better than the Raiders. That's massive. Last season, the gap between these two teams was wide. This year, the Raiders are closing in. Khan's assessment shows that the Raiders can compete toe-to-toe with one of the league's elite squads. Raider Nation, that's the kind of recognition that proves the silver and black are no longer underdogs. They're a team ready to make waves and potentially a serious playoff threat. What stands out most is how close the Raiders came to matching the 49ers' pace, even under a nearly new regime. While Pete Carroll's system is taking shape, and Patrick Graham may not be around long term, the Raiders already look like a team capable of competing at a high level. Carroll's influence is evident, and it's clear that his scheme is shaping this defense into something formidable. It's also telling when an outside perspective validates the team's progress. Raiders reporters see the team every day, but when someone from a successful, elite squad like the 49ers evaluates the Raiders, it puts everything in perspective. Even in a scrimmage, not a real game, but a testing ground, the Raiders kept pace with a team many expected to dominate. That's a promising sign for the season ahead. Finally, there's some buzz about the Raiders' young defensive talent. Max Crosby recently shared his thoughts on Tonka Hemingway, the rookie defensive tackle, highlighting the potential of this unit's next generation. With veterans leading the way and promising newcomers stepping up, Raider Nation is plenty to be excited about as the team heads into the new season. Rather than focusing on every reported touchdown or highlight, like Trey Tucker's diving catch or Brock Bowers' big plays, what really matters are the players who show consistent potential and skill. That's why Max Crosby's comments about rookie defensive tackle Tonka Hemingway stand out. Hemingway may not have the flashiest stats yet, but on tape, his talent is clear. He moves with exceptional agility for a man his size, using swipes, spins, and clever pass rushing techniques. Even when things don't fully work out, he's demonstrating a football IQ and versatility that sets him apart. Crosby didn't hold back in praising the rookie. He admitted, "I'm probably one of the highest on Tonka Hemingway," highlighting the promise this young defensive tackle brings to the Raiders. Compared to others at his position, Hemingway is showing a rare combination of athleticism, technique, and adaptability that could make him a cornerstone of the Raiders' defensive front for years to come. Max Crosby's praise for Tonka Hemingway says it all. This rookie is making waves. Every time he's on the field, he shows improvement, and his development has been noticeable since joining the Raiders from South Carolina. The transition from college to the NFL is tough. The speed, strength, and technique of offensive linemen is on a whole different level. But Hemingway is adjusting quickly, learning the nuances of pass rushing, and showing flashes that could make him a key player in the years to come. There's a real chance that in a couple of seasons, Hemingway could become one of the league's top defensive tackles, someone the Raiders would want to lock down long term. With each practice and preseason game, he's gaining the experience to make that a reality. He'll be one to watch closely in the coming matchups as he goes up against starting NFL guards. The Raiders' defensive tackle position remains an area of concern. Reports suggest Tyree Wilson has been moved to tackle on third downs due to lack of depth. While Wilson is talented, he's naturally an edge rusher, not a full-time defensive tackle. The Raiders need real, dedicated players at this position to compete consistently. Hemingway could be the solution, but time will tell who steps up. The takeaway is clear. The Raiders have talent, potential, and flashes of brilliance, but certain positions, especially along the defensive line, still need to grow. Watching Hemingway's development will be key to understanding how far this team can go this season. Raider Nation has a lot to be excited about, and the coming games will show just how ready this team truly is.